and the manager, A.J. Hinch of the Houston Astros, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. I guess first easy question is how are you doing, A.J.?
We're doing fine. I think compared to a lot of the people in Houston, we're safe. We're in Tampa playing a couple home games. It's hard to complain about anything that we're going through compared to what our city's going through. I've got family and friends that are back in Houston doing a lot of good things, trying to help people. We've been lucky. Personally, I've been lucky with my family. My wife and daughters they're all safe in our house. Our house was not threatened by the floodwaters. We're pretty far north. But a lot of people aren't as lucky as me. So thoughts and prayers and heartfelt feelings for a lot of people that are in a lot worse place than the Houston Astros.
Well, are there any members of your team or coaching staff or any staff that's with you right now that does in fact have somebody that is in distress back home?
Not in life-threatening situations. I mean, we have a lot of people in our organization, employees, workers that work our games that are losing their houses and have had to be relocated. We've got some of our players' families and coaches' families with us, but a lot are still back in Houston. But none are in life-threatening situations. We do have some fear that a couple of our players have lost their homes based on where they live and where the water damage seems. We really don't know. We haven't been back since before we went to Anaheim last weekend. So a lot of unknowns, you can't get really in touch with any neighbors or people, or certainly can't send people out to worry about our things when they're trying to rescue people out of waters.
Right. And then you've got obviously the task at hand that you need to focus on. Do you know where you're playing the Mets series as you're getting set for Game 2 with the Rangers in the home of the Rays, AJ?
We don't. I mean, we think we're going to find out today what's possible. I know the two locations are either in Houston or here in Tampa. When we came here to Tampa we had a potential of playing 6 games here, 3 against the Rangers, 3 against the Mets. Any possibility of returning to Houston is unknown at this point, but I think today sometime they're supposed to get on a phone call and see what's possible and see if we can go home or see how we can accommodate our staff and players. We have a 12-day road trip on the back end of this, so if we can get home, we want to go home. I think a lot of us just want to hug our families.
No, sure. But what about the state of Minute Maid Park? Again, I'm completely in the dark about this. Is that something that is feasible, that you could hold a game and people can come and roads are open and
right.
and I guess emergency services and first responders can actually accommodate this sort of thing?
I don't know. I mean, Reed Ryan is really the only kind of high-ranking member of our front office who's back in Houston. I know Jeff Luna, our GM, was with us in Anaheim. We're now in Tampa, and so it's we're relying a lot on the people back in Houston to let us know. I know Minute Maid wasn't flooded, and it's safe, and it's it's in good shape where it's at downtown. But to the extent that we could pull anything off, I think the officials that there's a lot of things to worry about in Houston. I think our game's probably the least of anybody's concern. But if we can go home, we will go home. But I just don't know. A.J.
Hinch, Astros manager, joining me here on the show, and again, as you point out, okay, that we and I guess we need to keep on, shaping our conversation through the prism of how this is still technically the toy department, the sports world, right? Compared to other people's lives have been turned upside down. That said, emotions are very raw, certainly in between the Astros and the Rangers, because you guys are playing in Florida and the Rangers were not up for swapping home dates with you and your team. How did you receive that news, and the rest of your players receive that news, AJ, that the Rangers were not?
We were in to paint the picture for you. We were in Anaheim for a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Sunday, we didn't really know where we were going. We knew that there was a possibility of a couple different cities that we could go to play a neutral site. We also knew that Dallas was possible, to go to Arlington and either play the games there as a home team or play the game there as a visiting team. So we went to Dallas, and as sort of a holding pattern to see what was possible while all the conversations were going on about playing there. Once we were in the hotel, we had an off day on Monday. We got a mass text to basically be ready to get on the bus at 4 o'clock, and then we were flying to Tampa. So I know MLB worked with the Rangers and the Astros to try to find a kind of common ground on what's necessary. I think the emotions that came out of it were really just a release of just what's going on in our world, especially from our vantage point. Where we played, who we played, how often we played, the miles we had to travel, the hotels we had to change. Like, honestly, if you take a step back and look at it, it doesn't matter when you see videos of personal friends who are going into floodwaters to try to save friends. So I think it's important to keep it in proper perspective that, yes, there was a little bit of banter back and forth about what's right or what's wrong or where we should play. But I think everybody quickly shifted back to what's important, which is is your family safe? Are your friends safe? Are your fans safe? And let's understand that this is bigger than the game.
Did you speak with Lance McCullers? Because he was very vocal on Twitter about greed never takes off days, apparently, is what he tweeted once the Rangers made their decision that they didn't want to swap home dates with the Astros.
I didn't talk to Lance. He's on rehab. He's going to pitch in Double-A tonight. So I've texted back and forth with him a little bit, checking on his family. His wife's back in Houston by herself. So with all of our players, I've checked in to see, the whereabouts and how everybody's doing. Lance was very emotional about it. I think all of us, including myself, we're all misinformed. We have no idea what goes into these decisions that get to the commissioner's office, and ownership's involved, and GMs are involved, and the best interest of the game's involved. I mean, it's, again, I'm proud that we would defend ourselves. I have no problem with Lance, being emotional and being protective of our own. But on the same token, again, shift it back to not our emotions and not our reactions, but more importantly, what do we do to help Houston get back to being Houston? And when we spend our energy and our time and our money in that way, I think we'll feel better about it.
Astros manager A.J. Hinch calling this show from Tampa, Florida. Game 2 of a 3-game set with the Rangers there. So is there anybody that you've reached out to? I know you have a background in psychology from Stanford, but is there any coach or manager in any sport that's been through this before that you've reached out to, and how to manage the roster as well as be there for the fans once you do return to a hometown that's been through something like this?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to really reach out to too many. We've been juggling so much information and so many guys here, and we have half of our families that are with us, and we're really trying to sort of huddle up ourselves and do that. I mean, over time, and I've heard from a number of managers in the big leagues. I've heard from a few college football coaches. I've heard just friends that I've accumulated over my years in the sport, and I really do appreciate that. I guess you find out, how many people really do pay attention to what's going on to you when I get out of a game last night and there's 110 text messages from people just wanting to say hello and lend their support. So in sports, out of sports, friends, family, the outpouring of care and concern has been incredible, because whether you're in Houston or not, I think the images of the ladies that are in the retirement home knitting while they're in chest-high waters, or the man carrying a kid across the street, those will last you forever.
So what was it like playing in front of 4,000 fans out of the home state for technically a home game? What in the heck was that like last night?
Yeah, no, it was bizarre, because we're playing the Rangers. I was joking before, if you were watching baseball for the first time and you saw two Texas teams playing in Florida, the home team wearing gray uniforms in the visiting clubhouse, and the visiting team wearing white uniforms in the home clubhouse, we really wouldn't have recruited you to watch our sport much. We would have thought we were crazy. So it was, the fans that came out, they were great. I know they donated money and time, and the Tampa Bay Rays have been fantastic to open up this building for us, and they're donating all the proceeds. And it's everyone's all hands on deck trying to make things better for people. But it was, a little different than a spring training game, because you're at a different site. But it definitely was weird. Our fans were good. They were into it. There were chants in the stands, and people that were having a good time. It was a relaxed environment. The game turned south for us. We got beat up a little bit, but the atmosphere was as positive as it could be given the circumstance.
Yeah, and Carlos Correa, just to, I guess, talk about a little baseball. He's coming back Friday, wherever you are going to be playing. Is that correct? You're expecting?
I think
him back?
That's a little premature. I think it's going to be over the weekend in the best case scenario. But he's traveling to Double A. He's going to join our Double A team for a couple games, which will push it back into the weekend. But he's getting better. It'll be a big boost for us when he gets here, just to have one of our centerpieces back in the middle of the order and back playing shortstop. Whether it's because he's been out or just because of the rigors of the schedule, we've been just okay since he left. He's a big presence on our team. He's a big presence in our lineup. It's hard to bestow that kind of responsibility on a 22-year-old, but he can handle. He's one of the best players in baseball. So when we get him back, it'll be a big boost.
Last one for you. Have you seen what J.J. Watt's been up to?
Oh man,
have you seen that? Raising money.
It's awesome. I mean, he along with James Harden of the Rockets, Jose Altuve on our team, probably the three biggest stars in our city, and they're all stepping up in some capacity. JJ's obviously at the front of it with his raising money. I mean, he started out just wanting a couple $100,000, which is a lot of money, and it's turned into, I think he's close to $5 or $6 million now. So it shows the support that he has. It also shows how you can bring people together and try to fund what's going to be a long recovery. He's around our team a lot. I love JJ. He's a big fan of the Astros. We're big fans of his, but to watch him step up, within hours of this happening, a big kudos to him and hat tip.
AJ, thanks for calling in under these circumstances, obviously, and good luck. I'd love to keep in touch with you throughout the month of September, and whatever you're doing for your team and for your city, we're behind you.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that, please download our app. There's lots of fun things there other than just more of the videos you just saw. You can call us from the app. You can email us from the app. Just download it. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.